Hello everyone, and thank you for clicking on the Literacy Volunteers of Harrison County YouTube channel. We're a nonprofit United Way agency, and we offer these videos to you for educational purposes. If you like them, please give us a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. What I am trying to do now is we have several students who are getting ready to take the HiSET exam, which is West Virginia's equivalent of the GED. And we study every day, but we don't really talk about tips and tricks for taking tests. And I'm going to start a new series all about the HiSET exam, or even the SAT, the ACT, different exams that people take that they need some help and they need some test-taking strategies. So today is on test-taking strategies, and these are strategies that you employ once you know your subject, once you've studied, once you've done all the questions, you've talked to people, you've read your books, you've done everything, and it's time to prepare to take the test. There are just some strategies that you can use so that you will do well on the test. The first one is be prepared. And a lot of people want to try to cram at the end before it's time to take the test, and that's not a good idea. You need to study over a series of days, depending on what kind of test it is, or even weeks. And you need to spend as many hours as necessary to understand that material that's going to be covered on the test. If you don't understand the material, go back and try to learn more about it so that you can better understand it. Always arrive early and take a moment to relax. A lot of people want to run in at the last second and try to take a test. That's not a good idea because your brain is on overload. Get there early, sit down, maybe get a drink, get a coffee if you need one, and try to just relax. And so don't think about the test as much as you do relaxing, and more things will come to your mind that way. It helps to increase your confidence. Now that you're relaxed, you feel, I can take this test and I can do well on it. And also narrow your focus. Sometimes if you're hurried and you're running in, your brain's racing and you're thinking of a million different things, and you need to be able to focus on that material for the test. And it will also help to calm your nerves. A lot of people have test anxiety, and I found this a lot when I taught. And so it helps if you're calm. You come early and you take some time to calm down before you take the test. A lot of people don't do this. They're already thinking about answering the questions, and they don't listen to the last minute instructions. Sometimes the instructions can change, depending on who's proctoring the test or what teacher you're having for whichever test you're taking. It's important that you understand what you're going to do once the test begins. Do you bubble in the right answer? Do you mark out the wrong answers? You can always ask that the directions are repeated if you don't understand them. And that way it gives you a second chance to understand exactly what you're going to do. Many times we pay a lot to take these tests, and we don't want to make any mistakes. Do a memory dump. And this always helped me. As soon as you begin the test, write down on the scrap paper that you have any information that you've learned that you think you're going to need to use on that test. And that will help so that you don't forget it. You can always go back and look at that as you look at the questions, and the more things you remember, just continue to write them down. Read the test directions carefully and watch for details. Sometimes you don't read the directions and you assume that you're only supposed to have one answer. Maybe you need two. Test questions and directions have very valuable information. Read those carefully to make sure that you understand what is being asked of you. It is not uncommon to have two answers for multiple choice questions. If you just assumed you were supposed to have one and didn't read the directions and you just put one, then you're going to miss a lot of points on those tests. Pay attention to the details. At times, instructions will say that only two questions are to be answered, even though there are many more choices. A lot of essays that you write, they say, here's 5 essay prompts, answer 2 of them. Or, maybe short answer questions. Give us 10 things. We might have gone over 20 in class, but you only have to put 10 of those. And we want to plan how we're going to use the time. If you know going in, and I will go over how much time is on each part of the HiSET, but if you know going in how much time you have, make a plan in your head as to how much time you're going to spend on each question or on each subject. And estimate how much time you have for each section, and allow enough time for more difficult sections that are weighted more heavily. If one section is worth 90% and the whole rest of the test is only worth 10, you're going to want to spend more time on that part of the test. Pace yourself. Make sure that you're keeping up and you're not just getting stuck on one question. I always told my AP students to answer the questions you know first. You can always go back to the others. Sometimes in answering these questions that you know first, you'll get some answers to the other questions. They'll pop into your head just by going over the information that you already know. And a lot of tests and a lot of teachers will put cues to answers within the test. If two answers are similar, they're usually not the correct answer on a multiple choice test. Because if they can't both be the answer if there's only one answer, so usually neither of them are. Pay attention to grammatical matching, and that is between the questions that are being asked and the answers. Subject-verb agreement, or singulars and plurals. If an answer seems correct, but it doesn't match grammatically with the question, it's probably not the right answer. And look for cues from the other questions. That's always a good thing to do. As you read through the questions, sometimes it'll give you cues on how to answer previous questions. Make sure you answer all the questions. If partial credit is given, answering as much of the question as possible will benefit you. The only time this doesn't benefit you is on the SAT. The SAT will deduct for wrong answers. So if you don't know the answer, don't guess and answer the question. An important thing that you don't really think about is to maintain a positive attitude. If you go in going, oh, I'm going to fail this test, I haven't studied enough, I can't remember the stuff I've studied, then sometimes that leads to a negative outcome. If you go in calm, like we talked about, arriving early, but you want to have confidence. Don't lose your confidence or waste time if you get to a difficult question and then just give up on the entire test. Skip it, calm down, and come back. If you have no clue about the correct answer and it doesn't count against you, make an educated guess. And that's only if you're not going to be penalized. Disregard patterns. A lot of people, if it's multiple choice and they get 4 A's in a row or 5 A's or 6 B's in a row, all that can't be right. All those can't be A, but they can be. Just keep on moving. And those are just coincidences that maybe the person who designed the test didn't realize that they had done. Always rely on your first impressions. When you read the question and an idea pops into your head or an answer, the first answer that comes to mind is usually the correct answer. Don't change your answers unless the first answer was incorrect. Maybe later on in the test you found the question and it's like, wait a minute, that information is different from what I had. Then go back and change it. But don't change it if you're just going through and being nervous about it. Only go back and review your answers if you have time at the end of the test. So don't try to second guess yourself by doing so. Number 11, we want to check and make sure we've completed the entire test. I've had students do this who forgot to look on the back of a page or who missed an essay question at the end of the test. Little things like that, like even making sure your name is on the test. If you're taking a test for a professor or for a teacher in school and you don't put your name, and believe me, I know, some classes you may have 5 or 6 kids that didn't put their name and you have no idea whose test this is. And also make sure that you've answered each one of those questions. Those are important things at the end of an exam. Sometimes if you have time, go back and review your essay or your short answer questions for spelling and grammatical errors. That will help you. Analyze your performance. After the test, especially if it's your first test of the semester or the first test for that particular teacher, go back and say, how did I use my time? Test taking skills that take time to develop. Sometimes it takes you a minute to know how that teacher asks questions. I've noticed a lot of people on Jeopardy may not know the information, but how the question was asked leads them to a correct answer. Think about all of the things that you have done correctly. Those are the important things. And then you can look at the things you can improve upon the next time that you take the test. Do I need to study more? Do I need to do an outline? Do I need to concentrate more on essays or more on multiple choice information? Do I need to pace myself better? There are a lot of questions you could ask yourself. And also, when you study for big exams like the SAT, ACT, the HiSET, any of those long